Greetings everybody and welcome here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So we're back here with this series that we're doing for September, the Other Prog War. We have the finalists finally. So if you want to see who won the semifinals, you got to go back and watch those first. So the bands in here both are not really surprising. They're both really strong bands. I could see either one of them winning this. I could see either one of them getting to the finals. And they both took different paths. However, Gnidrolog and their album Lady Lake beat I Love Ardour and their album Children. That was a huge battle. I wasn't sure which way I was going to go when I was thinking about it. And then after I listened to it, I still wasn't sure. And then even when I was doing the video, I kept saying I don't really want to kick either of these bands out. I like them both too much, and I enjoyed both albums quite a bit. But one of them had to go, and one of them had to stay, and I think that Gnidrolog won by a hair, basically. The other battle between Ethos and North Star wasn't really that close. North Star's a good album, don't get me wrong. They kind of beat out some bands that maybe weren't as strong as other bands, and to get to where they were, and they really were no match for Ethos Ardour, which is a fantastic album. Both these albums are grown on me. They both continue to grow. It's going to be a shame that one of them can win and one of them can't win. It's kind of reminiscent of that great Prog War with the Gentle Giant and IQ. I loved both albums quite a bit, but the Gentle Giant was just better. So now we have to choose between these two albums, and this is going to be probably the toughest match in the tournament, which is good because that's what you want in a finals, right? I listened to both today. The Gnidrolog album, very reminiscent of a lot of that Genesis sound that I quite enjoyed from the early 70s, but they have their own unique style. And they have, I think they're the ones with the two keyboardists. Really good stuff. Lots of really catchy beats. Some of the songs are a little bit quirky. The vocals are good, but only the twin vocals. I don't really care as much for the individual vocal because he sounds very British, which isn't a bad thing, but it's kind of a little bit distracting, I find. Overall, I found their music great. Their drummer is fantastic. The overall sound and catchiness of the tracks on this album are fantastic. And well deserving to be here in the finals. The other band, Ethos, and their album Ardour. This album is really good. The instrumentation on this album is, I think, the best in this whole tournament. I can say that. It isn't by a lot. There's a couple of bands here. I Love Ardour, the band they're fighting today, Gnidrolog. There's a few others that just really, that Aussie Bisa, they were really good too. Lots of really talented individuals here. I just found Ethos, although they were an American band, and they did do a lot of that kind of intense instrumentation that you get with these American bands like Kansas Styx and Starcastle and them. But I felt they reined it in very well. That's the main reason I like these guys, is because they were doing a lot of the same thing that the other American progressive rock bands were doing, but they reined it in so that you didn't get an overabundance or too much of that. And that was one of the things I found on that Journey's debut album. It's just, there was too much. It was just, and it wasn't structured to a way that it sounded like they were going out of their way to make these great stuff, and it didn't fit the song as well as you get with Yes and Genesis. But Ethos got that. They mastered that, and they really got it. So then now I'm at this point where I got to choose one of these two bands to win this battle. And I just find it incredibly difficult because they're both so good. There's parts of both of them that I really like quite a bit. My favorite part with, well, one of my favorite parts in the Gnidrolog album was Gnidrolog, yeah, was the, now I can't find it. I wrote it here. I seen, was a horn section that they used on one of their tracks. I thought was really well done. The drums were fantastic on this album as well. The twinning vocals worked really well. The instrumentation was solid. I liked all of the little classical bits, so their music was a little bit more varied. It had this pastoral and somewhat classical part, and then some really heavy stuff as well. And I think they integrated all of this stuff fairly well, where there wasn't as much of that with Ethos. But Ethos, what they did very well. There was a couple of tunes here. I'm just looking for my notes on it. Yeah, this second last song, The Dimension Man, this was a real heavy rocker. I remember that. The guitar on it was really good. Like it was a rock song. It wasn't really a progressive song at all. But that's somewhat reminiscent of a lot of these American prog bands. They do a lot of prog, but they also are not afraid to incorporate a lot of rock. Now, you do get some of that with the British rock bands as well, but I think they're not known for it as much, whereas the American bands seems to be a bit more known for it. And Ardour and Ethos falls into that. I just found that Ethos instrumentally were as good as anything out there, in my opinion, as good as anything out there. So now I have to come up with a choice here. It sounds like I'm going to go to Ethos. So, but that just because I'm talking about something in such a way that I'm just glamorizing it, and the other album I'm not doing as much, doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen. So it just really comes down to when it's so close like this and they're so tight, it really just comes down to how do I feel about them. And I feel really good about both of these. I don't even know what to do. I could roll a dice here, I guess, or flip a coin, but that's not really how this works. I gotta dig down and find the one. And even though I love the British sound, I'm a huge British prog fan. Nobody can touch the British. But in this case, I think Ethos can touch the British. I think they very much have that down to a thing, and I'm going to give it to them. I'm just going to give it to Ethos. I think this could be a door that opens me to a different genre of progressive rock. It may or may not, I don't know, but it was well worth doing all this if that happens, because I have lots of American prog stuff that I just don't listen to. I don't listen to my Journey stuff. I don't really listen to my Kansas stuff. I do listen to my Styx stuff, but I don't really count Styx as a prog band. To me, they're a rock band. They're a little bit of an everything band. You know, they kind of fit into that same range as Queen, I think. But anyways, there you have it. So Ethos wins the title of the other prog band champion, barely by a hair, putting out Gnidrolog. And maybe someday I will actually get that name right. Maybe if they'd had a name that I could got right, they would have went further. I don't know. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this battle and this series. It was fun to do. Ben chose some excellent stuff to listen to. Really opened a lot of doors for me as far as progressive rock goes. And I appreciate his time and effort to get all of this down so that I could listen to it and have this series for the month of September. I hope that it was enjoyable to you guys as much as it was to me to do. And we won't be doing a series in October. Right now I have 3 mini-series planned. Whether I do them all in October or not, I'm not really sure. But I will do some of them in October. I'm planning on Ben's given me a lot of ideas. I have a lot of my own ideas. Other people have said stuff too that have given me ideas. I want to put all this stuff down on paper and then kind of sort it out and try to get some kind of a video out there for people to watch. So I appreciate all your time, and we've come up to 500 subscribers. So I've reached my goals for the year. I'm happy, and you guys are great, knowledgeable people that come on this show and, talk about this kind of stuff that we all love. That's what this is. We love our rock and roll. We love our progressive rock and roll. So please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. And we will be back in the not too distant future with one of the mini series I'm planning, maybe starting it on the Thanksgiving weekend. So anyways, take care and have yourself a good night.